Happy Monday, everybody! You're listening to the Personal Playlist Podcast, fondly referred to as the P3. I'm Noah Daniel.
Music is a world within itself, with a language we all understand.
I am so excited to welcome Kyle Pearce here to the Personal Playlist Podcast. Kyle is the K-12 mathematics consultant with the Greater Essex County District School Board, where his passion for mathematics fuels him to make math moments by sparking curiosity, fueling sense-making, and igniting teacher moves. When he's not working on the next media-rich contextual math task and recording episodes of the Making Math Moments That Matter podcast, he's spending time with his wife and 2 children. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Hey, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, you know what? I am doing just fine. We are healthy. We are safe. We are nestled inside, maybe a little bit too much and more often than we would like these days. But you know what? We can't complain.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate how you rolled with the show because really everything you do, honestly, in social spaces is about your work. And making math moments, make math moments is something any person should have. Every time I get something from you and John Orr, I look at it, I think about it, and I try to find ways to use it in my classroom. You've really helped me shift to becoming a math teacher, which is still new for me, even though I've been teaching for forever. So I want you to know, and I know you know from other people, just really how impactful it's all been. How did it start?
Oh, my goodness. It's... this first of all, I want to thank you for encouraging me to come on this show. And, I'm sure others are listening, wondering like, what are they talking about? I just thought we were going to be talking about math. But when I found out we had songs to chat about, I was like, oh, this is out of my comfort zone. However, I love music. I was a musician growing up, so I'm really excited. But the math stuff, it really came from, having thought I was a math person when I was younger. I was quote unquote good at it. And then went into math and computer science and thought teaching would be great. Got into the classroom and realized the way I had learned math and the things that sort of came easily to me was really just memorization and steps and procedures. And I realized very quickly in my classroom that wasn't going to be a very fun 30 years watching students dread coming into my high school class. So that kind of got us going on this very long journey. We're still on it, and we're still learning new things every day. So it's super exciting.
So when you say we, you're talking, I'm going to assume, about Mr. Orr, with whom you do this work. But how did you guys start to partner on this?
Yeah, for us, it was a little bit of I think a timing piece. I think he was in a very similar spot. We were both playing with technology in the classroom, really kind of looking for the quick fix in order to engage students in our classroom. We thought technology was going to be the savior. And, him and I met through a workshop. I was leading a workshop through Apple in his district. And then we were connected online and through the math Twitter blogosphere. And, we were teaching the same courses. So we're in different districts. And we sort of, teamed up to kind of feedback one another. He would say, hey, I'm going to try this tomorrow. I'm like, oh, why don't you do this? And he would do the same for me. And, we would do things the same, different, talk about it. And it just kind of grew from there. And we've been on this journey. And I don't know where we would be had we not teamed up, because, again, we tend to push each other's thinking quite a bit. So it's been fantastic.
I'm so glad, and it's nice to hear like the origin story of things like that, because when you get synergy with another person and you get to see your work like very distinct from other sites, when you go to makemathmoments.com, you are like inundated in color and images and excitement, and all of the language is really quite action oriented. How long did it take you to find your groove in all of that?
Oh, I would say we're still trying to find it, but John and I both started blogging before we had, connected and started collaborating. We were both kind of doing this blogging thing. A lot of teachers started reflecting, and I was doing a ministry project through the TLLP at the time. And I thought blogging would be a great way to go about it. So we started sharing online, and over time, just, kind of honing in on two separate crafts, right? Like your teaching practice, but then also, what do people want to read about, and how can you make your reflections more helpful to others? And then it sort of turned into, this way to share some of what we were learning in our own classroom, and just sort of organically building up a little bit of a community. And we're now with this amazing math moment maker community, tons of educators who are constantly just pushing each other to try to get better, and all for the end goal of helping students love, enjoy, and become proficient in mathematics. So we're still looking for that groove, but it's coming along. So we're learning something new every day.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the great shifts from when we were in school, is looking at math not in a robotic kind of way, but in a deep, immersive, and joyful way. And I appreciate that so much about your work. That is how I feel about this show. So even though it threw you for a bit of a loop, this is a mathematical process too. There are 3 songs, one that's nostalgic, one that reflects your identity, and one that picks you up, lifts you up, inspires, or motivates. Tell me a little bit about your pattern for choosing your 3 songs.
Yeah, I had a really hard time. I'll be honest. As I mentioned, I grew up loving music. I, played guitar and the bass guitar, and eventually, formed a band when, I was a teenager, and kind of did the bar gig thing with some buddies, and, had an opportunity to do a lot of different playing as a singer and a bass player. So there's so many different bands and songs that when I looked at the first one that's nostalgic, I was like, oh my gosh, like every song that you listen to, if it's something you enjoy, if it's a song you like, they're all nostalgic, right? So this was really hard for me to select. But this first song that I selected, I don't know if I'm allowed to share it. I mean, the back.
Yeah, you can share it. It's your show. It's your episode. It's my show. But yeah.
Yeah, I can't take the show. But, this first one, I thought, going all the way back to when I was a child, kind of I'll call it like one of my first, memorable songs that kind of every time I hear it, it brings me back to when I was a young boy, and my sister and we had this little Fisher-Price record player that would play 45s. And, my mom and my 2 uncles, they were really into music when they were younger. And we found this old 45, one of my uncles, Uncle Tim, we'd play it. And it not only does the song make you happy, but it for me, it brings me all the way back to those times, so anytime I hear it, I just want to turn it up and share it with the world.
Well, we are going to turn it up, and we're going to share it with our listening audience. So this is Happy Together, the Turtles.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me. Lose my mind, imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together. I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life. When you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my no matter how they toss the dice.
I feel also joyful when I hear that song, but do you see the 45 with the spider clip spinning around in your mind? Like what's coming up for you right now?
Oh, the whole gamut, thinking back, thinking about that song. It also reminds me, especially oldies, was kind of the type of music that brings my sister and I back to summers. We had a pool in the backyard. We were fortunate enough to, our parents worked very hard to give us that amazing summer in our backyard. And in the summer, it would always be oldies on. And that song that we were just playing would pop on the radio. And it's like, when I hear that song, it kind of brings me back to that moment, but it also brings me back to, you know, childhood, growing up, and, you know, my parents listening to their favorite oldies on the radio. And it just kind of gives you a happiness that comes over you, right? Just these happy memories and smiles and, you know, no stress, no anxiety, just going and enjoying and having fun.
Yeah, it's certainly something to channel right now. But when you think about that song and the difference, like a real contrast to, you know, the West Coast grunge epic first album of this next band, it must really show a shift in the part of you that you want to talk about. And you said this was one of your favorite songs of all time, but it must also say something about you. So your next song, your identity song, is a song that was the fourth single off this first album. Why did you choose it, and why do you love it so much, although I get it?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny because until I had to select it and kind of, you know, link it to identity, it had a few different connections for me. And again, nostalgic is one, because I very vividly remember this particular album being my first compact disc. So it wasn't my first cassette tape. You know, I had many cassette tapes before this, but remember in elementary and grade school, I received a stereo, a little CD player, and I received two CDs. One was this album, the other was Green Day Dookie. And
I love that album too.
and you know, at the time, I don't think this wasn't my favorite song at the time. You know, I love more of the mainstream ones off this album. But as time went on, you know, becoming a singer in a band, and now, you know, even now, just having this opportunity to now and again do, let's say you do an open mic or something. This is one of those songs that just it just hits your soul every time you hear it. You know.
Yeah, well, I know. I mean, it's a song about like letting go. And that album, for any person that grew up at that time, was really pivotal. It came out at the same time that we first heard about Nirvana and looking at the Seattle sound. But this band has had longevity, and this artist who talked about this particular song in Pearl Jam 20 was looking at relationships in a really interesting way. So I want to play the song, and then I want to talk a little bit about you. So here it is. Black by Pearl Jam.
Sheets of empty canvas
Did you relate to Eddie Vedder as a lead singer?
He definitely one of my favorite singers of all time. I love his voice. It's so his range is fantastic for for a singer who's got kind of a lower voice. He can do quite a bit with it. So I always kind of saw myself as wanting to sound like him, and being that Pearl Jam sort of made their debut when I was younger, had a huge influence. The fact that they're still going strong today is something that's just mind blowing when you think about it. And anytime I hear that song, I'll tell you, you get the the goose pimples, and you start to feel that emotion that he's so good at pulling out of you.
Yeah, like I remember when Alive hit, and that was really the first single I think that came off that album. But little by little, each narrative was so interesting and distinct. And this one was, about the idea that, I would have had a beautiful life if you had stayed with me. Like, why can't she be mine? And actually, there's an unrequited love thing in the first song too. I never saw the connections until just now. But it's so cool that you have a song that you come back to, especially from a band that, has their own channel on Sirius, and that you get to hear, when concerts happened. That's a really cool thing as a touchstone for a person. But this last song is supposed to be, that pick-me-up song, that inspirational song. And in a time like this, it's nice to have a pick-me-up playlist in general. But you chose this song, which is from a time that I didn't even realize this band had an original name until I was preparing for this show. So that was really cool learning for me. But what does this song tell you, and how would you describe it in terms of the descriptors for this third song?
It's awesome. The title of the song just, when you talk about picking yourself up, when you're talking about inspiration or motivation, you think starting fresh, you think starting over, and sometimes you think to the good things in your life and when they began. And for me, this particular song, I think about my wife Chantel. This particular band, we've made it a tradition that we go to see this band. This song is not our wedding song, but it's the same band of our wedding song. And we've seen this band probably 15 times live, and we continue to try. Obviously, with COVID, that's not a thing right now. But even our kids are enjoying music from this particular band. So with this song, it reminds me of, again, those the beginnings of so many things, and even I get flashbacks of a wedding video that we had played at our wedding that had this song as the background music. So the song means a lot. The band means a lot to us as a family, and I can't help but get excited every time I hear it.
Okay, well, when this band was still called Chicago Transit Authority, Chicago Beginnings.
I'm with you. It doesn't matter where we are or what we're doing. I'm with you, that's all that matters. Time passes much too quickly when we're together laughing. I wish I could sing it to you. Oh no, I wish I could sing it to you. Oh, 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 oh. Mostly I'm silent. Silent. La, 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 la. Never think of the right words to say when I kiss you. I feel 1,000 different feelings, color of chills all over my body. And when I feel them, I quickly try to decide which one I should try to put into words. Oh no, try to put into words. Oh, 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 oh. Mostly I'm silent.
Such a great song from an amazing album. But wow, it says so much about your relationship, especially choosing it during COVID times because you're always with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been, and actually today is, as we record this, is the day before our 19th anniversary of dating. So not our wedding, anniversary, but when we started dating 19 years ago, it was tomorrow 19 years ago, and this band has been along for that entire journey, and like I say, it just it makes our hearts happy when we hear anything by them, but in particular that song really lights up our soul.
That is so cool to hear from you. I just hearing somebody who you traditionally think of as a math person. Sometimes you go to that compartmentalized place and you hear the word soul and some amazing language and enthusiasm. It really reminds you how well-rounded mathematicians can be and how beautiful mathematics can be. How do you feel about sharing your 3 songs with me?
Oh, fantastic. I'll be honest. I'll say that I think that the most stressful part about this whole process was, again, narrowing down, 3. I could talk about many, maybe 300 that have, had some sort of, has some sort of emotion that's triggered when I hear it. And I always say, to my kids and some friends and family that there's just certain songs where, you sometimes you can listen to a song, you can almost like smell what you were smelling at a time in your life, right? Like where that was, like where you heard it, when you heard it, the temperature, what were you outside, indoors, what was it? And that's something that music can do that I don't see too many other things being able to offer us.
No, but music is memoir. It really is a catalyst for memory. And I love that you added all the sensory dimensions because it's funny. Like if I was wearing a certain lipstick, I can smell that lipstick. You're right. It really triggers memory and emotion and good times. And what a wonderful way to capture just a day before celebrating you guys getting together. So I'm so happy that you shared your playlist with me. I want to make sure that people know, if in case they don't follow you guys and all of your work, that you actually share what you do, your noticings, your wonderings, your reflections and resources through makemathmoments.com, but there's more. So why don't you send people to where they can find you blogging and on Twitter, etc.?
Oh, for sure. Well, actually, if you are listening to this, in your earbuds, we do a podcast as well. Making Math Moments That Matter is the name of the show, and we've done over 100 episodes interviewing some fantastic mathematicians in the education space. Joe Bowler, Peter Lidehall, all kinds of fantastic friends. We also do mentoring moment calls with other educators who are trying to work through a struggle. So we have a blast doing that. So all of that can be found through the makemathmoments.com site. I've been blogging for years on tapintoteenminds.com. And now one of my little, I would say, passion projects is visualizing math. So there's a website called mathisvisual.com. So lots of love for the math world, but just like we discussed here today, music definitely has captured a big part of our heart as well.
If you don't follow him on Twitter, you can find him at Mathletes Pearce. That's at Mathlete, Pearce. And I just want to thank you so much. You've done some mentoring with us because you've come on to the On Ed Mentor Show through the Mentory and Voice Ed Radio. And I love learning from you. Thank you so much for everything you do. Is there anything you want to add before I play you out?
No, I'm telling you, if somebody wants to listen to more Chicago, though, 25 or 624 is another good tune. So go check that one out if you want to pump me up.
Okay. Well, it's great. There's lots of songs out there and there's lots of people. I love listening to people's stories as they unpack their 3 songs. Thank you so much for coming out to the Personal Playlist podcast.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Take care.
Thank you for joining us on the P3, the Personal Playlist podcast. I'm Noah Daniel. This is Voice Ed Radio, and I hope you have a fantastic day.